Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. The David E. Clarke team is excited about 2022. We want to, with God's help, save more marriages, help divorced spouses recover, and get abused spouses away from their abusers. Those are our focuses. Help us accomplish these goals by subscribing to the podcast and the YouTube channel and leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. That will help us. Now, two things before today's topic as we continue talking about my brand new book, Enough is Enough, the new expanded Moody version. But first of all, is the Moody book, brand new and out, with a new subtitle, A Step-by-Step Plan to Leave an Abusive Relationship with God's Help. Moody added with God's help, and I like that addition. It's available on my website, of course, davideclarkephd.com, Clarke with an E, and really anywhere books are sold. You buy it from me, you're going to get a signed copy, if that makes any difference to you. Also, if you go to the Moody website, I understand on the Moody website, moodypublishers.com, it's a 20% off deal, so that is a good deal. You can go to the Moody Publishers website, many great books there. This, of course, being the best one. I'm just kidding. It's on there along with Dr. Gary Chapman and Tony Evans and many great men of God. I'm in pretty fast company. Second, I'm working on a new self-published book, and I need your input for one of the chapters. And you've always been very helpful to me in gathering material and helping many people. So I'm asking for your help again. Please email me your answers to this question. What Bible verses have pastors, Christian counselors, and others used to convince you to stay with your abusive spouse? Many in the Christian community often twist the Bible's truth to persuade spouses to stay with their abusers and keep trying to change their abusers. So my question to you is, what verses, when you've gone through the process, talked to a pastor, a biblical counselor, even a professional counselor, or even friends of yours, church leaders, whatever, neighbors, what have they used? What verses have they misused to get you to stay with your abuser? These responses will go into my new book, and I'll also do some podcasts sharing your responses. Email me your answers to David E. Clarke, PhD. That's David E. Clarke, PhD, Clarke with an E, @gmail.com. Now to today's topic, continuing my series based on the new book, Enough is Enough. Title here, The Abuse Never Stops. I'm defining abuse very clearly in these next few podcasts. The woman in her mid-60s took her seat on my couch. She looked like the perfect grandmother. Gray hair, rosy cheeks, and a nice face. She would have made a great Mrs. Santa Claus. She was a kind, sweet, and loving person. You could just tell that. She told me she had spent her adult life trying to be a good wife, mom, and now grandma, which is the goal and fantasy of many, a dream of many women. She doted on her grandchildren. These should have been the best years of her life. They weren't. Every year of the past 40 years, ever since she married her husband, had been miserable, she told me. Crying as she told me on my blue couch right behind me. 2 months after the wedding, he started abusing her, and he'd never stopped. He criticized her, he belittled her, he called her stupid, he ignored her and her needs. He was somewhat nice only when he wanted sex. 40 years of abuse. I hear many stories like this here in this office and over the phone in my phone advice sessions. That's what you're facing unless you decide to do something about it. Don't end up like this dear lady. You may not be ready to admit that you're in an abusive relationship. It's not easy to let go of the dream of a happy relationship with a loving partner. You have coped for a long time by living in absolute denial. You love this man and choose to believe he loves you. He does not love you. He only loves himself. And I'm telling you something else. You don't really love him. You love a fantasy. You love the man you think he could be. You love the potential, not the actual man he is. You cling to the hope that one day he will change and you will have a healthy, intimate relationship. It's time to leave denial and face cold, hard reality. That's my job, to help you see the truth and act on it. That's why I wrote the book, Enough is Enough. I'm going to communicate with you in these podcasts the same way I do with my abused clients in my therapy room and over the phone in my phone advice sessions. I'm going to show you the brutal truth about your man. I'm going to push you past denial and into reality. When you finish these next few podcasts, you won't wonder if you're living with an abusive man. You're going to know it for sure. Okay, here's how I define abuse so we're on the same page here. Abuse is a pattern Not once in a while, not here and there. It is a pattern of narcissistic, disrespectful, and harmful behavior exhibited by one person in an intimate relationship. First of all, abuse is a pattern. That's my focus in this podcast. It is a pattern of behavior. I'm not talking about one or two incidents of abusive behavior. I'm not talking about a decent, loving spouse who is guilty of the occasional insensitive word or action. That could happen to any of us. Ask the blonde. I'm pretty insensitive at times. I know that comes as a shock. I'm also not talking about a man who has seriously sinned, really blown it, but has confessed, repented, and is in recovery and has helped you heal from what he did to you. I'm not talking about that kind of a guy. I'm not talking about someone who has admitted his weaknesses as a husband, owns the blame for wounding you, and is in the process of changing. Okay, that's a guy we can live with. That's not an abuser. I'm not talking about someone who is seeing your pastor or a Christian counselor alone or with you and is working hard to improve as a spouse. I'm not talking about a spouse who has been very selfish, but is now sincerely trying to learn how to identify and meet your needs. I am talking about a person who abuses you on a regular basis. He started abusing you early in your relationship and he hasn't stopped. He may say he wants to stop. He may even shed tears and say how sorry he is for hurting you. It's an act because he doesn't stop the abuse. They could give out Oscars for these performances of the narcissistic abuser. His words mean nothing. His behavior means everything. He is not going to stop abusing you. He's just not. You hope he will. No, he's not going to. Listen to this. He actually enjoys saying things and doing things that make you miserable. It's what he does. It's who he is. He is evil. There, I said it. That's the truth. Remember the list of what abusers really think, say, and do I covered in my previous podcast? In whichever category your abuser fits, and most of them fit in more than one, he consistently abuses you in these ways over and over and over again. Week after week after year, month after month after month, year after year after year. Until you turn around and it's 40 years and you are broken down and you've lost your children and you've lost your grandchildren and your health is shot and you're miserable. Don't be that person. The abuse is never going to stop. It's not going to stop until you take action. He's not going to stop it. You have to do something. But this person has no learning curve. Now, let me just make clear, I'm referring to the husband throughout these podcasts and frankly throughout the book as the one who is the abuser, because many more husbands are abusers. However, it's just as likely in your scenario, if it could be the wife. All right. Now, there are more men that are abusers, but there are plenty of women too that are abusers. Keep that in mind. To this date, your abuser has never been truly repentant. Repentance means change. It doesn't mean I say I'm sorry. It means I actually do something different. That's because he's not sorry for any of his abusive behaviors. He'll occasionally say the words, I'm sorry, but they are only words. He says them only to stop the conversation and get you off his back. It's not real. He doesn't feel genuine remorse. Okay, and so he doesn't change. There is no learning curve. He thinks your pain is he's aware you're in pain, but he thinks that's your own dumb fault. That pain is your problem, not his. So if anybody has to change, he believes it's you, not him. You. When you complain to him about his behavior, it's worse than a waste of time. His responses to your pain cause you more pain. He just turns it back on you. He'll say, if you're complaining, you're too sensitive. You misinterpreted what I said. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, he'll say. You're only crying to manipulate me. You're making it all up in your head. You are way too emotional. This is overkill. You won't forgive me. See, not his awful abusive behaviors that have done the damage. No, that isn't the issue. The issue in his crazy head is, his narcissistic head is, you haven't forgiven me for what I did. That isn't the issue. You're attacking me. They're always feeling attacked. If you bring up any need, any issue, any criticism, even if you do it in the gentlest way in the world, you come to him like Mother Teresa, it makes no difference. He feels attacked and it becomes your fault. When you ask him to go with you to a counselor, here's what he'll say. Counseling is a waste of time and money. Counseling won't help because you won't change. See, he's thinking you won't change. You're not the issue. I've already gone to counseling. He'll say you're never satisfied. You always want to go to another counselor. If you're that unhappy, counseling won't do any good. Just leave. Whoa. He knows you don't want to leave. You know you don't love me. No amount of counseling will make you love me. Why should I try when you do absolutely nothing for the marriage? It's all put back on you. Now, if he does go to counseling, he'll go once or twice and then stop. Okay, check the box, and that becomes part of his narrative. I went to counseling, and that wasn't good enough for her either. Well, once or twice isn't going to get it. This guy needs 8 months to a year of solid, intensive individual therapy. Not that he's going to get it. That's what he needs. He'll manipulate the counselor into thinking you are the problem. They're masters of doing this. And many counselors are weak and don't understand narcissistic abusers, and so they're fooled. He'll monopolize the session with his rants about you. You know what? If I'm you, don't waste your time on marriage counseling with an abuser. Don't. Now, he doesn't think his treatment of you is abuse, so in his mind, it isn't. You have no right to be upset. When you are upset, it's your fault. When you have the nerve to bring up something negative about him, he actually thinks you are abusing him. Well, look, in a marriage, you have to bring things up. At least once or twice a day, the blonde, my Sandy, will bring something up, or that bothered me, or this was insensitive, or could you do this for me? And she can be a little edgy, but that's my woman. That's normal. I love her. I'll do that for her. And I don't feel attacked. Okay, I just take care of it because I love her. Abusers don't love their spouses, and they're always feeling attacked. They shouldn't have to do anything for you. Now, his thinking is irrational, wrong, abnormal, and sinful. He doesn't know it. Normal persons can take responsibility for their actions. He can't and won't do that. He has no learning curve. Yet you continue to try to help him change. This abusive pattern I'm talking about is entrenched. It's set in concrete. You know that because you've tried every conceivable way to change your abuser and your marriage. I know you have. You've been patient. You've been kind. You've unconditionally loved him. You're told by the church in many cases, just keep loving him and loving him and loving him, and he'll change. No, he won't. That works with a normal loving man. You don't have one like that. You've met his needs over and over again. You've served him faithfully. You've bitten your tongue 1,000,000 times when he has hurt you. You brought up your concerns to him repeatedly. Of course, that doesn't work. He feels attacked. You've cried in front of him. You've begged him to change. You've dragged him to your pastor. You've dragged him to counselors. You've dragged him to marriage seminars, maybe to a marriage intensive. I won't waste my time. I do marriage intensives right here in this office. I won't waste my time if I have a narcissist. I'm not going to waste time and money. I'll see the wife and help her. I do a number of those individual intensives, helping them get strong, helping them heal, helping them leave that guy. That's what I'll do. Not a marriage intensive with a guy like this. You've read scores of books on marriage. Now it's time to read this book. If you're with an abuser, this is the book you need. Enough is enough. Not your basic marriage book, which talks about improving marriage. That's a waste of time with a guy like this. You try to be the best wife you can possibly be. You've killed yourself. And of course, you've prayed your heart out countless times. Let me ask you a dumb but important question. What is the result of all of your efforts over the months and years? I know the answer, no change. Same old abuse, same old abuser. Now, if you haven't tried counseling, okay, marriage counseling, or even individual counseling, then go that route. Again, if you've tried marriage counseling, I'm sure it's been a failure. With a guy like this, it always is. Don't try it again. All right, you need individual counseling with someone like me. You can do phone advice with me or find someone tough in your local area that understands abuse and will help you get ready to leave this person. That's the direction I want you to go. Not the basic marriage counseling, which frankly is a waste of time. Without an effective intervention, your husband is going to be an abuser the rest of his life. The intervention I'm talking about and that I explain in this book is get out. Prepare yourself and get out. Now, it will take some time, weeks, months, maybe a year or two, but you're going to get out. That's the intervention I'm talking about, not trying to change him. That's pointless. Good news is you don't have to take his abuse the rest of your life. You do not. God does not want you to do that. You don't have to continue to tolerate his pattern of destructive behavior. My plan, I think, is the best choice for you and your children. It will protect you, get you away from the abuse, and lead to a new and better life. My plan is also your husband's best chance for change. Now, he may not change. Very few do, but we give him a chance, a golden opportunity. Now, on my next podcast, we will continue to describe the elements of in my definition of abuse. This is the chronic pattern. Okay, next time we're going to look at another element. We're going to keep going next 4 or 5 podcasts so we nail down very clearly what abuse looks like, because you need to know, is my husband abusive? Is my wife abusive? I take these phone advice calls all the time. I get the background and I can tell people, you know what? No, that's not really abuse. There's another direction I want you to take. Or, yes, that's emotional abuse, chronic emotional abuse. And I recommend the Enough is Enough book, and we go down that route. So until next time, Dr. David E. Clarke, PhD, signing off.